Before we learned how to do blood transfusions safely so you don't die, doctors tried replacing lost blood volume with a few different things, one of which was milk, and that didn't actually go as badly as you might assume. Blood groups A, B, and O were discovered in 1900 by Karl Landsteiner, with group AB following in 1902, discovered by his colleagues Alfred de Costello and Adriano Sturley. This helped us start to understand why blood transfusions in the past had sometimes worked and sometimes hadn't. The first reported successful blood transfusion was done in 1666 by Dr. Richard Lower, and this was done in dogs, meaning that in addition to the discovery of insulin as a treatment for diabetes, we also owe dogs thanks for the discovery of how to do blood transfusion safely. A year later, in 1667, a man named Arthur Koga, who was described as a little frantic and a poor and debauched man, was paid 20 shillings by Dr. Lower and Dr. Edmund King to let them transfuse some sheep's blood into him. At the time, blood was considered one of the four humors and was thought to contain the essence of someone's personality. Think of the terms hot-blooded or bad blood to describe moods or feelings. And sheep's blood was thought to contain the essence of innocence and purity. Oddly enough, Koga's transfusion was completely successful and he requested a second, which was performed a month later. And although he said he felt much better, he was still described as being a little cracked in the head. Dr. Jean Denis was a physician in the court of King Louis XIV, and he also experimented with transfusing sheep's blood into a young boy who was suffering from prolonged fever. Because again, sheep's blood was considered pure and was less likely to be, quote, rendered impure by passion or vice. This was also successful in that it didn't kill the young boy, although it probably didn't cure his fever. In 1818, the first human transfusion was done for a woman who was bleeding after giving birth, and when the blood was donated by her husband. That this transfusion worked is an enormous coincidence in light of not knowing about blood types at the time. And Dr. James Blundell, who is called the father of modern blood transfusion, took this success and went forward transfusing other human patients with about a 50% success rate. By the 1870s and 1880s, physicians in the US were using milk from goats, cows, and humans in transfusion. This isn't that crazy if you think about it. Milk is a water-based emulsion of fats, vitamins, minerals, and proteins, and we give something similar by IV to patients who, for various reasons, cannot eat. It's called parenteral nutrition. I used to make buckets of this stuff to give the pigs that I did surgery on during my master's, and although that solution was sterile, it was water, amino acids, fats, oils, and vitamins, and it was generally perfectly safe to deliver into the vein. There were, of course, adverse reactions to the milk because it definitely was not sterile since this was before pasteurization, and it was transmitting tuberculosis, listeria, brucellosis, E. coli, salmonella. I could go on. By 1884, saline had replaced milk because of these bad reactions, and while the saline replaced the volume of blood lost, it was still 20 years before blood type matching was developed. Another 8 years after that before a way to keep blood from coagulating was found, and it wasn't until the 1930s and 40s that other blood groups like the Rh factor were discovered and taken into account. If you think the idea of getting sheep's blood or milk transfused into you is horrifying, just be thankful you were born when you were, because the option before that, when you lost a lot of blood, was just to expire. And much of this burden is shouldered by people giving birth, which is why childbirth was and still is one of the most dangerous things a person can do.